Okay, so your business is profitable, but would it still work if your most capable employee took 2 weeks off? For a lot of business owners, the answer may be uncomfortable. The numbers may look healthy, but the company is quietly being held together by overworked people, undocumented processes, and the knowledge trapped in somebody's head. In this episode of Profit with a Plan, we'll help you spot the hidden operational debts, putting your business at risk, and what to fix before the growth, change, or future sale exposes the cracks. So join us on Profit with a Plan podcast. Hey, entrepreneurs, are you working too hard for too little profit? Well, welcome to Profit with a Plan podcast, where we help business owners grow smarter, increase profitability, and build a company that's worth more, whether you keep it or plan to sell it. I'm Marcia Riner, business growth strategist and the profit booster behind Infinite Profit. Each week, I bring you practical strategies, expert insights, and real-world steps to help you grow revenue, increase margin, and build a stronger business. By the way, today's episode is brought to you by Infinite Profit, where strategy turns into profitable growth. And before we jump in, as long as I can keep my mouth working today, I have something special for you. If your revenue is plateaued or your marketing just is not producing the return it should, go check out the free Profit Booster Growth Map. In just a couple of minutes, it'll help you identify where to bring in more qualified clients and where your profit leaks may be costing you money. Go get yours after the show at profitbooster.biz. And by the way, there's no sales call required. All right, let's get into today's conversation. My guest today is Levi Lawrence, managing partner of Iron House Pro, where he helps founder-led companies build operational foundations they need before scaling, modernizing, or preparing for that future sale. Levi brings a perspective that is both practical and hard-earned. He has built a company, lost it, and used that experience to understand why businesses can look successful from the outside while relying far too heavily on a few capable people behind the scenes. Today, he helps owners identify the hidden operational debt, undocumented knowledge, and fragile systems that can quietly limit growth or create risk when the pressure hits. So, Levi, thanks for joining me.
Thank you very much for having me. It's going to be great.
Yeah, I think so too. It's one of those days where I get a little tongue-tied and it almost cracks me up. It's like, what is going on? I've only been doing this for 7.5 years, but we do have those days. So you mentioned in the introduction that you had started a company and lost it. How in the world did you lose your company?
Well, like many people, I use the term technician entrepreneur. So that's somebody who starts their first business because of something they're good at. So I was a chef by trade who opened a food company. And so it
Mm.
was like food distribution, food products, and I had a catering company, and it was all around foods created or made within 100 kilometers. And, I had online delivery of groceries in 2008, 9, 10, 11, 12. It was early before my time. But I was the food guy. And so I have business problems and HR problems and system problems and marketing problems that, when I hit problems, I just went back into the kitchen. And
Oh.
so, and that's definitely like, that's the connected dot. It was not that clear then. Hindsight's made it clearer, but now it's really like I grew up fairly large, raised money, went multi-city, 3-ish million that I got to from a garage business to storefronts and e-commerce. And then, didn't raise enough money, grew too quick, had some challenges, and I didn't have any of the systems to support. And, I don't tell everybody this, not because I'm afraid, because not everybody gets it. But when the business closed, it's because I was in the hospital.
Oh
I
no.
was ill and I just wasn't able to put out the fires that I now realize I was putting out every day. And
Mm.
so the system was me. And without me there, it didn't take very long to fall apart.
You are not alone in that systems are you conversation because many of us, we all start our business because we knew something, right? We were good at our jam and we decided to mistakenly wrap a business around it without the full knowledge of all the problems that could occur, the HR, as you said, the operations, sometimes the financials, the people. It's crazy. but we're good at what we do, so we just keep leading in that path. So I'm sorry to hear that, you getting ill, caused you to recognize that. But yeah, I bet it was, I'm glad to have you sitting across from me
Yeah,
on
yeah.
the call today. But man, I can imagine the business didn't work after that, did it?
No, no, and we were in a fragile position and we didn't understand. And but at the same time, you accumulate experience and network and friends and people who had got there. So like I also think back, it's like the problems I had that I probably could have solved. I could have reached out to other people. I could have been more vulnerable. I could have had more like the problems weren't as like I look now. If I had those problems now, those solvable. I have enough experience. It's 15 years later. But at the time, I was facing the decision, and I knew every supplier by name. It was all handshakes that I could make with every supplier I bought from. It was
Mm,
170 of them. And when I started ordering something that I wasn't sure I was going to be able to pay for,
yeah.
um, I decided to pull the plug.
Smarter in hindsight now, but I'm sure it was, a terribly emotional decision. And we all need that t-shirt, I shoulda, coulda, right?
Yeah.
Because looking back, it's almost crystal clear. It's that now version, right? That always seems
Yeah.
to get us tangled up. So now that you've had this great experience, and great, I mean that, learning experience that taught you really how to run a business smarter. How are you putting that into today's operations to make sure that you can develop that?
So after the business closed, like all good failed entrepreneurs, I started giving advice for sale because it was the bounce back. So I say that half
Welcome to
tongue
the
in cheek.
world.
But one of the contracts I got was moderating business peer groups. And so for 6 years after that, not only did I have my own road rash, but I got under the hood of groups of 12 to 16 business owner founders going through growth, and I was their moderator facilitator. And so I got under the hood deeply with over that period of time 200 different businesses of every size and industry. And what I said is that all my road rash and my learnings, like the problems are almost always the same. And so we started really, really understanding like they're all principle based. They're all comparable. Nobody's got unique challenges, and especially smaller businesses or the independent ones don't have the same resources to tackle them. They're not paying for the high end consulting. They can't throw technology at things. They can't hire necessarily the right person for the right seat on the bus. And so I personally believe, like I understand and I like bigger business, but communities are made typically of some more smaller businesses. Like I need the
Absolutely.
profitable businesses, but I also don't travel somewhere because of the quality of their Walmart, although I go to Walmart. I travel because I want the quality of that unique individual retailer or restaurant or caterer, butcher, baker, candlestick maker. And like those companies, so I started out a little bit of helping David against Goliath when I moved out on my own. I've now mostly priced myself out of the true Davids. And so I love being on podcasts because then I give these, like I try to give as much as possible because I want to share the message, even though I can't necessarily bring my team in to do the hands-on for everybody.
Right. But you know what? That's really great because now you've had your own experience. You got to experience 200 other businesses and realized, hey, it's the same problem. So what were some of the top problems that you saw and maybe, some ideas on how you were able to help them through that?
Well, you mentioned right in the intro, like we talk about foundations. Foundation is a very key word for us these days because we started out like, in my head, it's like it's easier to sell growth and scale and marketing and leads. And so we were like, our core was helping companies adopt technology and change process. That's really at the core of what we were doing. And it was like for scale, for growth, for 10x and modernize and digital transformation was the key word of the world like 2, 3, 4 years ago. But in all those projects, once we got there, once we started having real human conversations, it came back to basics, which we now call
Mm,
foundations. Do you
mm,
have your information in a place that everybody can find it? Do you all communicate in the same way? Do you actually understand what the processes are? Do you actually understand what you're trying to achieve? Because growth for growth's sake does not necessarily very often succeed. You kind of have to have a goal and a target. Do you know who you're cut? Like there's basic questions that underpin all organizations. And since then, I say organizations because we're now like 50% private business and 50% institutions, nonprofits, and First Nations organizations. The same
So
problems.
interesting. Interesting that and I find a similar pattern in my work when I'm working with clients. Oftentimes they want the shiny object. They want to chase the squirrel, the new thing, the great thing. Um, People often confuse growth with scale, and that always is one of those pinpoints for me. But when you get in, you find out that they're not even ready for it because the foundations are so off. How do you get the owner to go, okay, I'm not going to chase this shiny thing. Let's work on these foundational items because they're usually like, ah, come on, I want to go now. I want to go really fast and I want to get there yesterday. How do you deal
So
with that?
right now we're spending a lot of time on trying to educate. We're speaking, we're writing, but most of the people who come to us or people refer people to us, something's happened to make it extra painful.
Mm,
Most of our clients are what we call traditional businesses. They've been around for a long time, a lot of brick and mortar. We're not really working with startups because there's lots of companies that have been around for decades, and they got to catch up. Or I mentioned pain point. A lot of them are coming up on a transition. They either want to
mm.
just to like decouple, the owner wants to decouple from the business because they want to do less or be somewhere else, or they want to sell, or they want to pass it on. Whatever that transition looks like, that's when they're like, oh, that's not
Oops.
actually a sellable business, or that's not actually as valuable as it could be. And a lot of people aren't even necessarily looking to sell. They're like, I'd love to be able to like have it run with me not being on it every day. Or their spouse is like, you could probably take a day off. We have lots of money. And then find out they can't do that. So it's time freedom or money richness, whatever you want to call it. And so when that comes, because then we're not solving we're not saying we're going to make you 10% more efficient. We're going to help you grow by 10%. It's like, we're going to change the quality of your life and we're going to change your retirement. And so those make a different conversation. So we spend a lot of time in that space. But we're trying, like I'd love to talk to people earlier and find a way to for them to understand little tiny efforts more frequently along the way would save a much larger, more expensive in dollars or time later on when you're trying to change the habits of a whole organization.
That is so spot on because yes, I'm a same fan that, working earlier, which is why, my when I first came into business, I was financial planning and talking about exits and where are we going, but they weren't ever ready for it. And my advisor told me at the time, let's go back and talk about building a business that you can actually sell later on. So it gives you that double-edged sword, a win now and a win later. So same philosophy of starting earlier. It's never too late to get started so that you can create that opportunity for yourself later on. What are the biggest foundation errors that they have in there? I mean, you've sprinkled on a little bit of them, but which
Mm.
are the primary ones that really hit you hard?
Uh, the boring one that everybody has a problem with and nobody does right now is like just some better, clean cybersecurity. Like the world, everybody's adopting some really fancy tools to do some really crazy stuff, and you're open to live. Like I didn't even want to talk about it further. Like it just should be table stakes, but like that solid foundation of like if you're going to start playing with AI or tools or scale or automations and you don't have any clean information and security, like it's a whole mess. So like that's a very clear
It's a
one.
huge
Uh,
risk. Huge
yeah.
risk.
Uh, the other one is it surprises me because I live in this space. It surprises me every day how little actually just gets put on paper, whether you use the system or not. But like when I hire somebody and like I can't give them instructions, I don't have the checklist, I don't have the process, I don't have the onboarding, and I'm not working necessarily. I mean, I'm not working for really large companies typically, but lots of them have 60, 100, 200 employees, and they're still master to apprentice or learn through osmosis or experts or long timers who have been here a long time are the ones who carry the decisions. And I was like that's, I mean, and maybe it was extra work a few years ago. Right now, that's as easy as just sit down and listen to yourself talk and record it on a computer, or have an intern listen to what you're saying and follow along. Like, get things written down so you can share them.
I
Download.
think that's
We've had
fantastic.
download dad in at least 6 project scopes. Um, just get their brains into something.
That is great because yes, a lot of experts, again, it's all stuck up in their head that they're busy working and they know everything, but then when they want to bring somebody on, it becomes this arduous task of, oh, now I have to write a operations, or I have to write a procedure for it, or they have to come and ask me. Somebody I spoke to probably a couple of years ago had mentioned that you and can a great way of doing that, and correct me if I'm wrong, is to engage the person that's already doing it, to
Totally.
take a few minutes and write down their process and reward them for it. Someone had mentioned, like, every Friday afternoon, I'm going to give you an hour to write down your what you did this week or that process and try and improve it for me. And then if you do that and we can get it and we can free up some time, maybe at the end of the month you get an extra, Friday afternoon off or something like that. And it really helps, because then, granted, that person's doing the work because they're hands on and involved in that. How do we, I mean, because people think that it's like this monstrous task. I've got to write every operating procedure in my company, but you can start with one, right? Hey, quick pause here. If you've ever wondered what your next smartest move should be to grow your business, well, I've built something for you. It's called the Profit Booster Growth Map. It takes only about 2 minutes, it's totally free, and it shows you exactly where you're leaving money on the table and what to fix first. Go grab it for free at profitbooster.biz/growth map. Then come right back to the episode.
And the reality is, and I'm stealing stats I can't attribute, but it's almost all businesses run on 5 to 7 core workflows. 5 to 7 actual workflows that provide or create the value of your company. And for every company, it's a little bit different. But like, just even an exercise of a whiteboard and a couple of people is like, what are the ones that carry the most weight? And that like, just start there. Um, and you mentioned reward, and I think that's great, but like, start with acknowledgement. Stop with like
Yeah.
buy-in from the top. Like, just have the entire leadership understand its priority and acknowledge how important it is. And then like, everybody wants to do important things. Um, but it's not administrative burden. It's like one of the most important things that anybody in the company can do.
And it's
Change the
incredibly
mindset.
valuable, right?
Yeah,
If you're selling your company, the buyer who doesn't have to buy, they want to buy, will come in and go, oh, everything's documented. I can see
yeah,
exactly how things are done. And if something, I can fix it. I can work with that. That to me adds so many numbers to the sale price as well.
yeah. And you mentioned the sale price because I'm documenting process, getting your stuff on paper is really big. The next one is, does your company sell its product or service, or do you? The number of
Ah,
times, because that's not really documentable often. It's like, if the owners stop talking to people today, a month from now, are you still getting new business?
yeah.
And the trickle down of all the things that need figured out under that hood is the next most, and that's not really something you can delegate. That's a deep
Yeah.
personal exploration.
I think that's kind of a rainmaker syndrome, right? Where the rainmaker is the owner oftentimes,
Yeah,
and because of their connection, their notoriety, their name on the door, big mistake, their name on the door, that people want and need that person there, that becomes really challenging. Like, even like you said in the early part, if you want to take a day off, or God forbid you want to take a real vacation that was a couple of weeks, where without the emails and cell phones, I mean, you can't do that if you're the company.
yeah. And some companies have it harder than others, but if you are needed there for work to get done or work to get sold, even if you love it, it's such a huge risk. It's just such a like, yeah. That's where my head is like, ooh, let's fix that.
It's a burden, right? And I think that, so when we have that situation, and granted, when you're starting your company or you're in the young phase of your company as you're building, yeah, you got to do it all, right? You're the owner operator. But as you start to grow and you reach those plateaus and you start bringing people on, that's where I'm a fan of imparting the knowledge to the team and empowering them to be able to make certain decisions, certain levels or values of decisions where they don't have to come to you for the answer. They can solve that problem and work through it themselves, which is that freeing break, or, to from the owner, that really allows them to breathe and become the leader of the company instead of the doer of the company.
One of the conversations we have with a lot of people, especially founders, is like eyes wide open, go into and make choice. Like you can be the hustle and you can do the work and you can make really great money and life at that. But if you start to get to a certain size, like you can't manage the work, you have to manage the systems or manage the people
Mm,
who manage the systems. And just understand it's a little bit different for different industries, but it's like you can map it out. Like I can map it out in a
exactly.
conversation. It's like, and for a lot of people, like 1.5, 2 million for a lot of companies is like you can manage that and you can get a really great margin. You can have a really great life. And at 5 million, you're not going to be doing the same job. You don't need to be the same person. You don't need the same strengths. It's a completely different role. But if you talk about that earlier, I wish this was business class 101. Make some choice about where you want to land. Who are
Yeah.
you and where do you want to be? Because you could run 3 businesses at this size with these strengths, and you don't have to
Mm.
do that next round. But a lot of people, they just react to growth, or growth is the YouTube push is everybody should grow. It's like, well, grow with intention, make choice.
Yeah. And growth doesn't have to be, Amazon domination. It can be
Yeah,
little incremental changes that improve year over year over year.
yeah.
And that to me is growth. If you get a 5% increase each year, wow, that's fantastic, right? You don't have to have, you know, double and triple each year going in.
Yeah,
But I think
and we're
having that
buying
under
multiple businesses. So that's like
exactly.
we call our first business this one that we really like it's not something we want to scale. Because it's nimble and powerful. We call it Engine One. But that
Mm,
allows us to improve and run multiple businesses.
exactly.
Um, and that's just a different kind of growth. But we thought about it and having a strategy, having an intention, make choice. Because when things are forced upon you, that's where resentment lies. Like the number of founders I
Mm.
know start to resent their customer or resent having to go to work because they're no longer doing what they enjoy for the reason, or they don't have the freedom they thought they'd have. Like you make choice, I get to changes the whole game.
And I think that's the control we always wanted when we started the company, right? Is to make those decisions to leave the man, right? And
Yeah.
go out on our own and do the things we want, but somehow it evolves into this ugly beast that we no longer like anymore. So I love the idea of making choices, right? And understanding your intention and the direction that you want the company. Even if it's to stay small, that's fine. You still have to, outperform inflation, but if you have that intention and you can make those choices, then it still becomes the baby that you wanted when you started.
Yeah.
And I love that angle on it. How do we stay in that? Right? I mean, because I think like the external pressures, or just like I mentioned, inflation, or things that get in the way that make us pull us in different directions. How do we stay in that optimization?
So yeah, well, it's a wild changing time too. Like half the stuff I just said might be completely out of date in a couple of years, couple months. Who knows?
Exactly, by the time we
Um,
release.
yeah, exactly. But for me, it's and what we do, and we do it for clients, but we definitely do it in house. Is we even though we kind of try to put a peg in the wall or a dart in the dartboard in the future, where we're trying to go, what is growth, have plans, budgets, like those aren't just boring details. Those are really important. But we revisit. We have that offsite or
Mm.
that on-site day, and we do it quarterly. And at the end of 3 months, we need it. We need it. It's like what's changing, what's the opportunities we're going to take advantage of, where do we need to make change, and we kind of renew our vows a little bit as well. There's 3 partners in our company, and it's a little bit of like, all right, things have changed, or we're still going. Is this still our goal? Do we change it? Are we going hard enough? I differently than a lot of people. I don't. I ran a company of my own. I don't want to run a company again. I want that accountability. I want that push. I want that drive. But we need to get on the business at least every couple months, like out of operations completely, and really be looking forward. Or I don't think we would be able. It's the same way like you can't drive a bike by looking right in front of the wheel. You just can't.
That's
You'll
that
fall
is so
across. You'll
true.
fall over.
And that's fantastic. And I appreciate the fact that you're saying every 3 months you've got to revisit and you got to take a temperature check. Are we on point? Did we veer off? What's new? What's the opportunity? What changed? Right. And as a planner, I'm a planner at heart, profit with a plan, right?
Mm.
And so to hear somebody who's experienced everything, who are helping others do it, to reiterate the fact that you got to take that temperature check every quarter. And I think that's so important to be able to get the goals, because if you're not checking frequently enough, how do you know if you're still on track to be able to reach the goal that you set? Even if it's a hairy, audacious one, you got to be able to say, are we closer to it, or did we veer off the track? So I think that that's important. So, Levi, this is really great. We can go on and on and on. And I mean, we have some really good things. But before we wrap, what you mentioned earlier that you wish this could be Business 101 and that you could really impart some wisdom on younger businesses, or businesses maybe that are struggling, that need to get right back on track. If you had one or two best practices beyond what you've already shared with us, what would those be that you'd really want to leave the audience with?
Well, especially if it's somebody who's newer on this journey, start talking to people who have been there and start talking to them often. Ideas are trash. Like, it's not about
Mm,
your idea. There's nothing sacred about any kind of cow. It's about execution, and talk to other people who get it and who've been down that road. Like, join a peer group, go to groups, find a mentor, talk to people who've been there and are doing it, and start being
yeah,
more
don't do it
open
in a
and more
silo.
vulnerable. Yeah, and be open, be vulnerable, be transparent. Like, you'll be surprised at how much they go, oh yeah, I did that 10 years ago. Let's talk about how that went for me. And the other one is, especially now, is yourself, but also your organization. The best thing you can do, regardless of any other tactic, is start creating a culture of, or rewarding, continuous improvement or learning. Like,
Mm.
reward continuously reading or podcasts or reading, or like we use communication channels, whether you're Slack or Teams or Click or whatever you're using. Create a learning channel for people to share new things they learned. Bring in, we do lunch and learns every 2 weeks where somebody comes in and just gets 30 minutes of something cool. And they're not all tech. They're just like we did mental health first aid. Like, create a culture around people wanting to learn and be more okay with change, because change is coming. And anything you want to do to improve a company is going to introduce change. And so the best thing is, like, start making it so that it's more tolerated. Because adoption is going to be the bigger problem. Not making the decision, buying the tool, or fixing the process. It's going to be your team following it. And so start with the culture piece.
I love that. That's so rewarding to hear that, because it is really good to be open to new ideas, new processes, new things, new learning things. And when you create that culture in the company to welcome that, like you said, that adoption is going to be a whole lot easier when change comes, because it happens. And even today, with even like experiencing AI, I mean, it's hyper fast, that you've got to be in the right spot. So that's really good. All right, Levi, where can listeners find out more about you and your company so that they can become a better business?
So the two easy, well, my love language is LinkedIn. Please find me there. I love to have a conversation. My time and coffee time is free. Absolutely. I have a personal website where I talk about thought leadership, what I'm writing and reading, levilawrence.ca. Our company is ironhousepro.com. But the big thing that I really wanted to share is, and I mentioned earlier, we want to educate people. We want to start talking, and I don't want to charge for all of that. So we've built our first actual software app, which allows you to do a self-assessment around where your foundations are. So it's foundations.ironhousepro.com. It's just come out this week. It's been 2 years of us kind of working on it, and it's you can do the quick, I don't have any time, 10 question version, or you can do, I really want to look under the hood, 50 questions. And it's
Wow.
supposed to tell you, because one of the things I found it freeing, whether you want to grow, whether you want to sell, or whether you want to automate or adopt AI, all the exact same foundations matter. So, regardless
Hmm.
of your goals, almost all of them are encompassed in the same things that you should work on. And this gives you a really, like, it covers strategy and finance and operations and communications. It covers all of it. And I'm really excited to continue to grow that. And it doesn't cost anything. So, the more businesses that do it and tell me whether it's crap, uh, I really want to help people be able to self assess earlier where they're at and what they need to work on.
I love it. And where can they find that again?
Foundations.ironhousepro.com. And again, if you find me on LinkedIn, I'm all over the place with this.
Love it. Wow. This is so good. And really this will also help you recognize what needs to be in that conversation every 3 months, or what needs to start to think your processes through, and ways to
Yeah.
find those gaps, because
The
we
valuable
all have
conversation we're
them.
having right now is we're
Exactly.
getting people to have their whole team do it. So you do it as the owner, but like if you do it and your manager does it and they're completely different, then that causes a
Ooh.
very valuable conversation.
Ooh, that's actually really good to have the manager do it, because then you can see where the gaps are, where you think it is and where
Yeah.
where it actually is. So
Yeah.
that's cool. Well, good. Well, thank you for doing that and offering that to the audience. I think it's a tremendous way to go through things, and you have to assess, and to have the good tools to make the assessment easy to do, easy to get the output in. That's definitely the faster way of doing it. All right, listeners, thanks for tuning in today. I hope you're walking away with some practical ideas that you can put to work in your business to make it more profitable and more valuable. And before we go, if you want that clearer path to more revenue and a stronger profit, then go grab my free Profit Booster Growth Map. It'll quickly show you the top strategies to grow revenue and stop those profit leaks. Very different from what Levi has, but another type of assessment that would help you out. You can go get yours after the show at profitbooster.biz. And if this episode gave you value, be sure to subscribe and share it with other businesses who may need to hear it. And exactly what Levi and I have been talking about on here, we want to help, right? And so this is a fantastic tool to start getting those wheels turning in your mind. All right, I'll see you on next week's show with more strategies to help you grow smarter and profit stronger. Until then, make your plans and profit with them. Thank you so much, Levi.
Great.